And it's good to see you all. As you can see, I had time to shower and put on makeup, though I think I've got a little bit of a smudge there on my makeup. Yes, just a smidgenin. I'm fully rested from my trip to Guatemala. Now, you may ask yourselves, how do I know that I'm fully rested from my trip to Guatemala? Because I'm already thinking about my next trip. You see, I've got a problem. Am I the only one here who has wanderlust? Who here suffers from wanderlust, where you always have to keep moving? Anybody? Anybody? Am I it? Am I the whole kit and caboodle here? I tell myself I've got to be frugal. I blow money. Money burns a hole in my pocket. That's why I'm a broke aristocrat. Amazon. You know, it's just one click away. Anything you need, groceries, boom, Amazon. A new sweatshirt, boom, Amazon. Can get it in 2 days. I mean, the problem is it's just so easy to spend money. Anyway, great to see you all. I'm trying to be frugal. It's an idea. That's why I call myself a broke aristocrat, because the concept of being frugal, I should have so much money. I should. There's no excuse. But, you know, I have blown so much money on mischief, you have no idea. Bought a $350 bike from the bike place here, decided I didn't like it, gave it to somebody else. There goes $350. You know, I don't know. I need to be more attached to money. I need to be more, I keep telling myself this, but it's just not in my nature. My college loans are gone, but that was really rough. I had to work 7 years in a pharmacy for $18.50 an hour. Everybody else was making $50 an hour. So, yeah, I had a depressed wage of $18.50 an hour. So I guess we were doing a lot of Medicare, Medicaid, keeping seniors out of hospital. And I remember thinking when I was working there, I'm not getting paid enough and I'm saving the American government millions. Why can't they cut me a break? And then I found out that because they were taking federal money and I was working for them, that I technically qualified under my contract. So I was given a very nice letter from Joe Biden that I had served faithfully, and in honor of that contract, I no longer had student loan debt. They found it. I didn't know. I thought I was going to have to do some song and dance or something. But yeah, so you think about it. If other people are other people are working from like $50 an hour, and that's an extra 30 something bucks an hour that the government is shaving off, and you do that for 7 years, that's a lot of money. 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. How much is that? You should figure it out. According to the government, it covers the $200K that I owed. Damn, that's a lot of money. Anyway, so yeah, I'm wondering how they calculated that. Let's see. So that would be $32 times 40 equals, yeah, $1,280 a week was taken out. Oh my God, times 52. 1280 times 52, right? We'll say 50 because I got a vacation. Times 70. $448,000 depressed from my wages. So yeah, I think my initial loan was under $200K. They usually want it depends on your contract. if you're under, if the company has federal agreements, because pharmacies do, because Medicare, Medi-Cal, you're working with a depressed community. I think it depends. 2 years, 3 years is usually what they request from doctors. That was like 15, 20 years ago. So I think it was starting at 50 an hour. But I think it depends on the contract, and you have to work the hours to pay it off. So usually it takes doctors about 3-4 years, right? How many people are on that contract? Who else went to med school, has contracts like that? Usually takes about 2-3 years. So I worked beyond my requirement. So if I had done that, so divided by 2 would have gotten me to $224K. So I would, and my initial loan was 198, I think. So I probably could have finished my requirements in like 3 years. I didn't know. I just kept working. I just kept working there 40 hours a week, plus trying to do my side bit, starting my private practice. I had no idea that, the dog, I don't know. It had something to do with my contract and pharmacies taking money from the feds to pay their employees to write the prescriptions for, so it fell under the student loan contract for physicians. They found it. The Biden administration found it. It helps a lot, because they would have, if I hadn't found it, they wouldn't have told me under Bush Jr. or anybody else. But then I went back and I reviewed my contract, and I was like, oh, I didn't have any debt after 3-4 years. So you have to file. They did the filing for me. That was the other thing I really appreciated, was that the direct loans people filed for me through Biden when they saw my employment and my taxes, and it flagged as part of the program. And they're like, you don't owe us. You completed your hours. I'm like, I did. So anybody else have that happen through Joe Biden? It was a nice surprise. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool when that happens. Well, let's go ahead. We'll say hi to everybody and talk about the book of the month, which I was in my bed reading it last night. It's so good. It's so good. Every time I read a book of the month, I think, well, this is my favorite of all the books of the month we've ever done. But this one is really becoming my favorite. It's everything I love. It's soulmates. It's that feeling you get when you meet someone, and it's that ancient, like, I know you from long ago. It's about past lifetimes, past lifetime connections, dreaming, where we have dreams. Oh my God, it's just so good. But, it opens with a dream. And the dream is, I'll read you part of the dream. Chanel Shaw entered the restaurant's elegant dining room with only a vague awareness of diners sitting at tables adorned by goblets and silverware that glistened with a slight blue tint. Her eyes searched the room. There he was in a private booth, sitting with his back to her. She approached him from the side as if she were floating, and noticed his hair was all gray, which she hadn't expected. He turned and saw her, and then flashed his smile that took her breath away, as always. He was still stunning, with a radiance reminding her of the sun, like ancient times when it was more than just a light to see, like Ra. That's how it opens, people. Aha! Ooh la la! Mm-mm. All right. So, if you would like to be part of our Book of the Month Club, we'll have Sylvia in our studios to interview. It is some good stuff. Maybe next time around, A Tale of Love, Karma, and Reincarnation. You can get it on Amazon. And I'm really enjoying it. And then I also love the fact that she has her own business. She's like making it happen. Um, she's like the Carrie Bradshaw of metaphysics, this character. She's got her girlfriend, she's got her career, and then she's got this guy who's like bigger than life, this soulmate. And anybody here had dreams where they have a spiritual connection with somebody? Yeah, she gets into all of that. It's really good. It's like I was up last night. Yeah, it's one of those types. Yeah, that gets you a little frisky, like, All right, let's turn the camera around and say hi to everybody. Great to see you all. We have Gary for Grace. Hi, Gary. Great to see you here. And thank you for your subscription and support of the channel. That's a pretty scary image there. I hope you're gentle with us. Sue Malik, hello, my love. Good to see you there, looking beautiful as always. Joel Tilson, our floor director, is here to make sure that all your questions are seen. He makes them nice and big and large for me. Oh, gosh, So it looks like we are entering World War III. This is the big news right now. Russian drones are still invading Romanian and Poland's airspace. As you know, those are NATO countries, Poland, and we have now NATO amassing troops. Does anybody want to venture to guess how long it's going to take before Russia is taken out by NATO? Is NATO going to march on Moscow? Let's do a poll. How will this end? What are y'all thinking? Should we do a poll? I think we should do a poll. That's the ultimate question. How can you be happy as a remote viewer when you predict something like that and it happens? No, I would have been happier if I'd gotten it wrong. According, just gotta mute this. Grok says we're at 80%. I shouldn't have told you that. I should have let you guys vote. Do you think NATO will enter the war in Ukraine? Okay, that is the poll. That start poll. Will NATO enter war with Ukraine? I'm sorry. Give me a second here. Why is this not doing its thing? Does anybody want to talk about it? Is anybody depressed? Why do you think this is happening? I think it's pretty big news because it would basically be officially the start of World War III, wouldn't it? Is that officially the start of World War III? What do you guys think? If the world, it's the world versus Russia. So then my question to you is, if it's the world versus Russia, who's going to come out in defense of Russia? I just got out of the shower. My nose is dripping a little bit. Apologize for that. So we have some of you thinking, does NATO, look, what is the agreement we have with NATO? What is NATO? Does NATO have a moral responsibility to protect a NATO country that's been invaded? What is our responsibility to a country that is part of NATO that has been attacked by a hostile force? How is NATO responding to Donald Trump's behavior? Have things changed between Donald Trump and Putin? And if so, how have they changed? These are the questions. These are the questions we have to ask ourselves. Bonjour to you, Carl. Hello. Hello, Terry. Good to see you here. SCOTUS. Yes, SCOTUS is corrupted. You know, how many people on SCOTUS had financial ties or financial problems that were bailed out by questionable persons or organizations like America First, Heritage Foundation? What do we all think about that? Is that really appropriate for there to be financial interest when it comes to selecting SCOTUS? And should there be laws or ethics in place to ensure that there's no financial a relationship between certain groups and SCOTUS picks? Yeah, I think that's a really good question. We're going to get to that. Hi, K Travel. Good to see you. Hi, LC. Good to see you. Angelica, great to see you here. Rebecca is in the house. Karen, lovely to see you. Look how beautiful she looks there. She looks so healthy there. Great shot of you. Oh, nice to see. Is that Mahakali? Mom Kali? Helen, hello. Jolene, 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 Jolene. I'm working on an Irish version. Good morning to you. Great to see you. Star Channel's in the house. Joy. So what's everybody eating? What you drinking? I'm just having a nice cup of coffee. Kathy Walker, Sybil, Denise Adkins. Crazy times. They are crazy times. And we will keep working on saying hi to people as we go along. So there's a ton of questions. Let's get into them. The first one, of course, we had talked about how I feel as Putin is I feel angry and frustrated. I'm broke. This is like a card game where it's a poker game. I feel as Putin that I am in a poker game and I've got a bad hand, and the only thing I can do is try and get my opponent to fold. Because I don't have anything here. By being aggressive, I'm hoping that I can argue that NATO is fencing me in, and I can get military support from China, who I've never really had a great relationship with. China is questionable, and Iran. But Iran is in no position to help me because Iran has their own problems because the Iranian government is collapsing, right? So he's going for broke and hoping that we will become frightened and make a deal with him, and then he can fold the cards. But the truth of the matter is, we have enough intelligence to know that his army is in bad shape. He had financial problems when he fired Prigozhin. This is why he fired Prigozhin. He fired Prigozhin because he couldn't pay the guy. And he has been steadily running out of money. He fires Prigozhin and the Wagner Group. Then the people that stay are getting paid $200 a month. And then all of his soldiers die, and they're replaced by alcoholics, drug addicts, and criminals, and untrained children. Tens of thousands of Russians have left Russia to avoid the draft. They're in Georgia or somewhere else. And so he really doesn't have anything left, and he has nothing to lose. And so this is actually the perfect time for NATO to get involved. And the reason why it's the perfect time for NATO to get involved is because he's wiped out. He's wiped out. And so he's weak enough to where we can take him on. He's weak enough to where we can take him on. And for that reason, I think we're going to see strikes by NATO, possibly by air. I have said that I saw Sweden coming in by air. Now Sweden and Finland are part of NATO. That was before they were part of NATO. Now they're part of NATO. But I saw Swedish air defense, that we'd been building up Swedish air defense, and that it's very likely he could be hit, or that we could start seeing more activity from Swedish air defense. So put a pin in that and just sit back and see what Swedish air does. But that's where my energy is going. And possibly a buildup of troops on Finnish soil. Let me open a map and look at the grid again, you guys. Just give me a second here. Because I'll be able to feel troop movements for you. For those of you who are starting remote viewing training, we're going to be finishing up the HCRV class, the Tarot class. Tonight is class 10. Is that right? We're doing the cups, and then we're going to 11th and 12th weeks. We're going to be working at doing readings for each other, and then we'll finish it up, and then we're starting our remote viewing training sessions again for people that want to be remote viewers. So I need to look at this just to help me here. And what I do, and for those of you who have had training and attended HCRV class for a while, is go into your body and just imagine you're scanning you're just floating above it, and see how you physically feel, if you feel open or closed or tension in any area. So we have this area of Poland. Warsaw is here. Okay. Pull back a little bit. This is the area, Białystok. That's where they went in. Is that right? Then we have them amassing at the Belarus border, Ukraine. Here's Finland and Sweden. So Sweden would be going across into Polish airspace. And I'm also seeing activity here in Finland, ground troops build up. They could enter Finnish airspace, and then they would be able to attack St. Petersburg fairly easily. In terms of where Ukraine is right now, they are about 200 kilometers from Moscow. So if you also had air defense coming in and hitting St. Petersburg, Poland coming into the Belarus border, they're already amassing. That would force them to start having to secure St. Petersburg. That means that this area becomes vulnerable. Kharkiv, Dnipro. this area where the fighting is, the concentration, they won't be able to maintain it if St. Petersburg gets hit by Swedish air defense. That's what I think could happen because Sweden is here and I'm seeing Swedish planes coming in. So that would be the most likely. I was feeling an opening right around here, like some energetic opening. So that tells me that Russia is vulnerable here. Stockholm, Helsinki, this area is vulnerable. There's no military or there's minimal military presence there from Russia because I'm feeling open, like I can fly straight in. And if they're trying to avoid radar, there's not, God, why did they do that to themselves? I guess they put all their attention down here in the Ukraine area into this area here, trying to take Odessa, trying to take they're not going to be able, Mariupol, this area, they're bogged down and they can't, Donetsk, they can't progress, Kharkiv. And that makes, because they did that, St. Petersburg remains fairly open and vulnerable. And this is why Sweden could come in with Finland protecting them or being their guard and protector when they fly in. I think that we could see Swedish planes coming in. So like I said, go ahead and keep an eye on that and let's see how that plays itself out. But that's what it's looking like to me. Damn. Will Ukraine cede territory to Russia for a peace deal? I don't think they need to, not with Sweden aggressively coming. I'm feeling this Sweden could get involved. Will Ukraine be a full-fledged member of NATO next year? I don't know why I'm getting resistance on that. I think it's because the NATO countries feel like she puts them in jeopardy of war. It might be a problem. No, it wasn't a conspiracy. What it was is that I think he got involved in he dropped out of school. He got involved. I think he was doing some drugs possibly. And he started hanging out with a bunch of gamers and, living on his computer with 4chan, reading a bunch of neo-Nazi conspiracy theories that were saying Charlie Kirk was a traitor because he had gone in with the Jews and he had started keeping Shabbat, Charlie Kirk. He started hanging out with Jewish conservatives. And started becoming more Jewish, basically. He went to Israel, had some kind of spiritual experience, and then he started keeping Shabbat, turning his phone off. And he was basically turning into a Messianic Jew, which is a Christian who keeps Jewish commandments. And I think that they felt like he was a traitor and a sellout to AIPAC. And this created tension between the gropers, is that what gropers? Is that what you're calling them? The neo-Nazis were having a problem with the evangelical Christians, and civil war has broken out between evangelical Christians and the gropers. So, that was what happened. I got no energy whatsoever that his roommate was trans. There's nothing in the record of his roommate being trans. His roommate was a gamer who wanted to be a professional gamer. And it's a rumor that got started by Laura Loomer. But there's this fake affair between the two of them. Nothing like that happened. I think that they were gamers. I think that they had gotten involved with the Groypers. I think that they were doing some type of a drug of some type that affected his mental health, which is why he dropped out of college. He went from being a 4.0 to a dropout, and he had mood changes, and that speaks to a potential drug problem, where all he wanted to do is just hang out and game and read conspiracy theories. And now they're trying to turn it into Silence of the Lambs, Carrie. Right? Everybody's seen the movie Silence of the Lambs, where the killer is a trans female, or trying to be female by skinning women. Are you a size 12? Remember that? So it got into the genre, right? It's a character created by a writer in Silence of the Lamb. It's not a real person, but now they believe that it's real, that these trans people are going around skinning and killing, and but it's just a character. These are people that play video games all day long. They live in a land of their own making. But there's nothing in the roommate's profile or history that talks about being female or anything like that. Just a guy who likes to rescue random fish is a reference to the fact that there's a group of people, there's millions of subscribers where they go around rescuing fish that have been dumped in creeks that have become invasive and in Utah's Salt Lakes, and they've got them in Florida too, and it's part of the gaming community. How many loose alligators can I catch, right? And have you guys seen this? I got into it for a while. This is how pathetic I am. But so they rescue dumped fish. So they'll be walking around a lake, and they'll see, hey, that's a bunch of guppies. They're not supposed to be here. So they go out with their friends, and then they rescue them. This is a huge thing. Fish spout, stay warm. Look at this. Rescue monster aquarium, fish abandoned pond. So here's an example. Bass Fishing Productions, 1.5 million views, 3.22 subscribers.
This time it's a much bigger pond.
That's not gonna float.
Yes, it will. Oh, look at that one.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, look at him.
It's like we're fishing in a pet store right now. There could literally be anything in here. Oh, now I'm stuck. Help. Oh, my God. What do I do? Look at his teeth.
So as you can clearly see, it's not fishing for men. It's literally fishing for domestic animals that have been dumped in the Salt Lakes. So he was part of that group. So when he wasn't gaming, he was running around, and it's like, I found a beautiful golden, oh, look at the color on this. You don't have to spend money at a fish store. You can just go and get it at the salt, so that's what that was. So yeah, just a gamer who liked to collect literally fish. Well, I think it's awesome, by the way, because it's a great way to clear out invasive species, and people get obsessed with it. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. New evidence in the files on members of Congress this week. Yeah, we can go ahead and we can throw on that. Definitely, I think a lot of people were compromised, and it goes back to the whole idea that Epstein had been blackmailing people. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead. Would you do that? See, I would totally do that. If I was a teenager, I would go with my bucket. In fact, I think I did do this as a teenager. We have the same problem here in Portland, Oregon, where some of our streams and rivers, you'll see goldfish feeders. Don't dump these invasive species. It's really not a good idea. But they get so excited, like 1 million views on capturing those guppies. Yeah, well, I'm one of the views because I think it's awesome. Yeah, and he gets called when there are loose alligators. And he was outside of some pond near Disney World, and a whole crowd came by, and he's like, the police are like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm catching an alligator." I mean, it's just Africa has taken over in Florida. It's pretty amazing. All right, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and do the empath's prayer. If anyone would like to receive a healing at this time, please give us your names and we will include them in our prayers today. We also want to give special prayers to my friend Colleen. My friend Colleen, she just got out of the hospital and she's not doing too well. So if we could also pray for Colleen, that I know that would mean a lot to her. And to anybody who needs a healing at this time, give us your name and we will absolutely. Oh, and little Luna, beautiful little girl, very smart, very special. Jolene's granddaughter looks like she broke her arm, so she'll be needing a healing today as well. So, and for all of you who need a healing today, let's go ahead and together with the power of prayer, we will bring in the empath's prayer. Lovely to see you all. You look marvelous. You look marvelous today. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively we say, Amen. And for those of you today who are requesting a healing, we come together at this time and we pray. We pray that you and those you love receive a perfect healing in mind, body, and in spirit. And together again we say, Amen, Amen, Amen. May all souls be healed. May all souls be healed. Yeah, didn't that look like fun? Didn't that look like fun going out? Was that, is anybody like me, a bit of a tomboy, would go out and do that? I would totally do that. Catch random fish. All right, this is your collective reading for the week. If anything does not apply to you, just go ahead and pass it down. This is a collective. It's a smorgasbord of ideas. Hello, Ginny. I still have not opened the box. Thank you for that. I just don't have time. I'm so busy. Ginny was kind enough to send me one of those, I don't know, goggles, and you can go to, I don't know, three-dimensional things. I don't even know what they're called, but thank you. I will definitely check it out, Ginny. Also special prayers to Kay. Good to see you here, Kay. All right, let's do it. Yeah, can you imagine being that crazy where the guy puts up something like, I rescue random lost fish or something like that, and then Laura Loomer, yes, it's a reference to being trans. I mean, it's like, what a wingnut. It's just so damn cool. It's just so damn cool. First off, it's really good for the environment as a hobby that these kids are taking them. These are very invasive and they eat local species. So the fact that he's catching them, look at the teeth on it.
He's nasty. Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, oh. We got one. Look at that. What's up, BFB Nation?
So that got 1.5 million views, and he's now got 3.2 million subscribers. This is how popular it is amongst like the gamers and the teen 20 plus group, just to let you know. It's exciting. It's like a treasure trove. You know, you can go and find all kinds of things. It's cool. Yeah, I love it. Okay, where we are at right now, unfortunately, I don't know, but they're invasive. They're brought in from places like Peru. I think that's a South American fish, like a piranha and stuff. And they're eating indigenous fish, and so they've got to get out of the water. So what this kid's doing is he's educating young people, which is really great. He's getting people excited in other states that are experiencing invasive, like the Great Lakes, like Chicago. Illinois has had the problem with its carp, and getting them excited about going in and cleaning it up. So a kid like the gamer guy who lived with the shooter, he was randomly going to parks and, hey, I found a guppy, hey, and this taking it back. And then the next thing you know, you've got a really beautiful aquarium of fish and you didn't have to pay for it. And so it's this idea of getting something for free. So I think that's also, and also being able to sell them online. Like I've got a beautiful orange guppy or whatever, fished out of the Salt Lakes or whatever. I got such and such a fish. And so they trade them, they sell them, they educate. It's a cool thing. It's actually a good thing. Where we are at right now is war. The base of the matter is the Knight of Swords. So one of the things I teach is the relationship between Chinese medicine, the 5-element theory, and the cards, because the creator of the Rider-Waite was a genius, right? She was a genius. So she understood TCM, Chinese medical theory. She understood African, Nigerian culture. She understood Western culture, and she also studied Hebrew text. So she was the artist of the writer, Pamela Coleman Smith. Pamela Coleman Smith. I believe she went to school in New York. She was a woman of color. She was treated like garbage. I believe she was Jamaican originally. Is that correct? Which is probably where she was exposed to. She probably grew up understanding the culture of the Orisha. I'll give a reference to that for everyone if you would like to find out more about her and how she was discriminated against. And she did, she died broke. Isn't she beautiful? She's just gorgeous. She's a genius. I love her. Genius, 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 genius alert. So when she draws the Knight of Swords, what she's talking about here is angry wind. Angry wind. This is the time of viruses. We're in Indian summer and we're headed towards the fall. Indian summer headed towards the fall. We're in the time of angry wind or a need for Wei Qi. Wei Qi is our defensive Qi. Our defensive Qi, right? So our ability to defend ourselves against the angry wind. So The Wei Qi is in the back between the scapula, and it will tense when we get that wind on the back, and that is to be attacked from the wind, a wind disturbance. When you get a headache from the cold, from too much ice cream or wind, that's considered a headwind, right? So angry wind, and also you can see the metal. So in Chinese medicine, this is the metal element. The metal element is associated with the lungs and the large intestine. The metal element is associated with the lungs and the large intestine and viruses that will attack the lungs and the large intestine, or the Wei Qi, right? So it is also called the bull in the china shop, where it comes in and it wants war. And you can see the angry wind in the clouds. So what she was trying to do is she was trying to bring all these concepts together in one card. So yeah, isn't she brilliant? So what we have here is we have that time between Indian summer and fall, when all the little kids with their runny noses come back from summer vacation, and we see a spike in viruses. We see a spike in people getting sick from those first colds and flus. And that is why now we're entering into the height of the flu season, which is one of the things we'll see with the Knight of Swords. It is also physical war. This person is out to kill. This is the kind of card I got when I looked at the assassin of Charlie Kirk. The anger and the fury and the irrational behavior. And when I went into it, I felt like I could have been doing some kind of a medication, either amphetamine pills, if he was on Ritalin, or he would, or some kind of prescription amphetamine for ADHD. That would have been the fastest way for him to have gotten amphetamines if he had ADHD, if he was getting treated for ADHD. Methamphetamines is another way. But if he came from a good middle-class home, he was probably prescribed, or he got it from somebody else that was prescribed. But that angry, jittery, thin energy, so the Kirk shooter, this is prior to us seeing images of him. But when I went into his energy prior to his arrest, I felt like I was on amphetamines. I felt this anxious kind of energy. You can see here his extremely thin, that agitation, wearing that American flag. I just felt that I was on something, and I don't know if it's prescription Adderall or Ritalin. Something is making my nose dry. Something, because when I'm a remote viewer that uses a technique which is called heart-centered remote viewing. And so we're different than other forms of remote viewing because it's based on Vajrayana Buddhism, and its earliest expression was that I know of is Vajrayana and the bond technique. That's the earliest evidence for this type of remote viewing. We merge with the person and we become them. We stand above the intellectual brain, and then I talk about how I feel, my dry mouth, my dry nose, my agitation, my nervousness, the fact that I'm thin, this thin, I'm like I'm not eating, like I'm pumped up. I'm pumped up on something. That Knight of Swords. And so what we have is we do, in fact, have this kind of Knight of Swords energy over us right now, and that has me very concerned. First off, because it is a time of viruses and angry chi and COVID and flu and, that virus energy that attacks the wind, the lungs, the wind, the ethers, and the metal element, lungs, large intestine. Like when I got back from my trip, I had a little something and I was run down for a week, right? So be aware personally of increased risk for infections, viruses, and we are in a time of war. Watch foolish behavior. Why would foolish behavior be associated with this element, metal? Why would foolish behavior be associated with the metal element? What happens when you're sick? I can't think. Aren't you a physician, Dr. Anderson? Oh, I don't know what to do. I just want to go back to bed. Well, why can't you just treat yourself, Dr. Anderson? Why can't you just create an herbal blend that's going to knock this infection? I don't know. My brain has shut down. What happens when you have COVID brain? What happens is your body shuts down in order to fight the infection, and that means everything else has to go aground. You're not going to have a brain anymore. You're not going to be able to run around anymore. All your body's energy is going to take care of the flu, not feeling well, right? So watch foolish behavior at this time. Watch foggy brain due to illness. This is what I would suggest. Watch arguing and fighting. Leave me alone. What happens when you are constipated or you have infection in the large intestine? Anger, right? Congested liver, right? You ever had COVID? Your brain doesn't work. Kiss off. Kiss off. I don't give a damn. I'm sick, right? You start to have that irrational, violent. My poor friend Frances, I went to Japan with her. I had COVID. I don't know how she stayed in the same room with me. I was a monster. Thank God she only caught it a mild case. But you're not yourself. So we have war here and we have risk of foolish behavior. We also have risk of an increase in the flu season at this time. Let's go in. Not looking good. War is inevitable, right? War is inevitable. Do we have to march on Moscow? Does it have to happen? What are the odds that Putin can admit that he blew it? That he's the greatest failure in Russian history as far as leaders go, that he's not the next czar of Russia. Contrary, he wanted to be a modern day czar. How did it work out for him? Where we are at right now, we're back and forth. We're back and forth. Very important at this time, folks, you've got to ground yourself. This is why I talked about healing ourselves in modern times. I got to tell you again, if I haven't stressed it enough, if you do not take care of yourself nutritionally, if you are not getting enough nutrition to your brain, if your brain is not getting enough oxygen because you're eating bad food, you will not be able to make rational decisions. In order to heal your life, in order to heal the world, it must start with yourself. Remember what Hippocrates said, let thy food be thy medicine. It starts, if you don't know what to do, I'm back and forth. I don't know if I should live here. I don't know if I should live there. I can't pay my rent. I don't know what I'm doing. You must start with the basics. Stop abusing yourself. If you cannot heal the world if you are pouring garbage in your body. It doesn't work like that. You can't be a messenger of peace if you are not at peace. I'm over here. I'm over there. I got money here. I got money. I don't know where my money went. This is my problem, right? I don't take enough control over my finances, right? I'm too impulsive, right? I'm too impulsive. I'm constantly having to fight impulses about how I spend. So Two of Pentacles is back and forth. Are you eating a nutrient-dense diet? Are you feeding your brain? Are you putting if garbage comes into you, garbage will go into your head. This is the problem with America right now. We are in a medical crisis, and a lot of it has to do with what we're putting in our bodies. There is a relationship between the garbage we are putting in our bodies and the garbage we are spouting. There is a correlation between the pharmaceutical industry and if he hadn't been on ADHD medication, which I believe he was, I can feel it in my body as a remote viewer. My mouth is dry. My nasal is dry. These are like antihistamine effects. This is like ephedra, or look how skinny he is. This kid's not eating. This guy's on amphetamines. I'm eating garbage and I'm on amphetamines, and I'm getting indoctrinated on 4chan and Discord. That's the profile I have. I don't have any of this trans crap. I never saw anything like that when I remote viewed. That's stupid. I have so many trans friends. They're the most gentle people in the world. It's stupid. This is stupid. It's just a character from a movie. That movie scared the hell out of me. Yeah. Silence of the Lambs, right? It created a lot of transphobia, and very, very sad. Yeah, thank you, Jay. Adderall and pizza rolls, right? Does not a good neighbor make, right? But usually they're pumped up on Coca-Cola, right? So they're just sitting and drinking Diet Coke and popping Adderall. Who else does that? Who else can we? Is this feeding the brain so that we can be calm and have rational thinking? So we have irrational thinking, anger, and foolish behavior dominating this week, and we have questionable handling of our finances. It's all connected. How do they eat in India? I've done autopsies on people from India. They were 104 years old and they were living on rice and lentils, minimal animal products, thin as a rail, no trans fats, no saturated fat, right? Trans in the Bible were referred to as eunuchs. They fall under the category of the eunuchs, and many of the psychics and healers were eunuchs. They were the shamans. And when the Torah references eunuchs, be kind to the eunuch, they're talking about the trans community. People that were part of the eunuch house. Some were castrated and some were there just because they were trans. So they didn't necessarily get castrated. But some were castrated. They were female. The dancers, the history of the dancers. Right? So there was transphobia back then, and they had to deal with it in the Torah. Do not oppress your eunuchs. Do not abuse these folks. They're special. These are special. These are blessed children, right? So those references are there because of this kind of crap, right? So now the trans community has to deal with the fallout, and they had nothing to do with it. But going back to Two of Pentacles, you have this back and forth with the finances, so be careful about that. And your crossing card is the Knight of Cups. Be kind whenever possible, but do not be kind to people who have a history of abusing you. Be careful of false knights. Oh, you got a nice house. I'd like to have a piece of it. Oh, you got a nice slice of cake. I'd like to have a piece of it. Be very careful about people trying to be nice to you in order to have their personal needs met. Yes, you should be nice, but you should not put your own life at risk. Learn to say no and learn to be careful of false knights, people that could be getting you to sign a contract, getting you to agree to something you shouldn't agree to, paying for something you shouldn't be paying for. What is above you? Sleepless nights and stress. Watch your stress levels and watch your sleep levels. I slept so much yesterday, I was exhausted. So watch your sleep levels. What is below you? Looking for love in all the wrong places. Two of Cups can be love and partnership. There are good people out there. They come here every day and they hang with us. We have 552 people getting this reading that are good, hardworking, decent people. There are people out there. Love is as perennial as the grass. You don't have to hang out with people that treat you like garbage. Go hang out with good people that are, marching for democracy. No more King's marches. Did everybody get to participate? Are you, help people and be a part of a community of good people, but don't let yourself get taken advantage of, because the crossing card, Knight of Cups can be a false knight and it can be a seducer in its dark aspect. Like, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, the 45th, 47th President of the United States comes often as a Knight of Cups. Seducer, right? What you're coming out of is strong partnerships. You have strong partnerships. You have this community. We get together 3 times a week, Sundays, where you can just have one-on-one with me here. I try to read everybody's comments. Or Chuck and I are here to support you. We want to have fun. We want to play with the cards, have some fun. But we're also here. I know Chuck shares my vision and my ethos that we want to create a community of people that are green light people that you can go to for support and feel safe in expressing. This is a safe space. We're very committed to creating this. I know Chuck feels very strong about that. We talk about it often. How can we support you? How can we build a community that doesn't sit around bashing everybody? Yeah, Pamela Coleman was a genius. There's no doubt about it. And the more I meditate and study her cards, the more I feel like most of the books on tarot are not even beginning to scratch the surface of everything she achieved. She was ahead of her time, and she was terribly discriminated against. What we're entering into is on God charge. Yes, I think there's going to be a response from Nato because of the Knight of Wands moving into 6th position, and I've seen it. You can only sit back and allow yourself to be terrorized by a madman for so long. For every action, there's a reaction of equal or greater force. And that goes for what's happening here in the United States. People are not going to sit back and let some psychopath take over the United States who's pumped up on God knows how many pharmaceuticals, looking like he's having transient ischemic attacks, drooping and then not. Doesn't mean he hasn't had a mild stroke. It could be a transient ischemic attack. You can't be serving in the most powerful position on the planet when you've got those kinds of health crises, which goes back to this whole idea. What's the best thing that you can do for yourself right now is you must save yourself. And it starts with what you put in your body and how clean is your home? How clean is the air quality? Are you taking care of yourself? The 7th house is confusion, lunacy, right? Howling at the moon. Cancer, run amok, right? The Cancer sign. Howling at the moon, energy of the moon, the lunatic, werewolf, right? The werewolf is having some kind of hormonal crisis, right? Mansplaining. Oh, you. Can you imagine being married to the werewolf? Oh, you mansplaining while you're out there howling at the moon, looking for trouble, right? Every 28 days, he's out acting crazy. Take some chamomile tea and calm down. The moon, it can be lunacy. The positive aspects of the moon are psychic phenomenon. So we're entering into the time of October 31st, which is when the veil, we're slowly getting closer to the other side, right? So we're now entering into the time of Halloween, All Hallows Eve, right before winter. And it's also the time of Rosh Hashanah, who by water, who by fire. So an account and a reckoning. This is the time of the account and reckoning when we harvest the grain and we begin to give an account and reckoning of how we did this year. How'd we do financially? How much money did you save? How'd you do nutritionally? How good were you with your diet? How good were you with your finances? How good were you with keeping your house organized? How many steps did you walk? How much exercise? How many good deeds did you do in your community? Give an account and a reckoning for yourself. We are entering into the days of awe. We must give an account and a reckoning for all our deeds. And we must meditate and think about how we can do better. So that is the aspect of the moon, this psychic connection to the higher realms, is the positive aspects of the moon. The opposition that we face at this time is 10 of Cups. How can we get back to the happy family? How can we get back to the garden? We start with the basics. A good diet is cheap. Brown rice is cheap. Tofu is cheap. Steamed vegetables are cheap. Making things from scratch are cheap. Don't buy anything pre-made. Make it all from scratch. Quinoa is really good for you and has more protein. Cook yourself up some quinoa, make yourself a vegetable salad with some romaine or, a good lettuce. Throw in some quinoa, throw in some beans. You can soak them overnight. You got a meal. If you need more protein, then you can do canned tuna in small amounts. It's got a little bit of mercury. Or if you like chicken, you can boil it, take the skin off, and just do the boiled chicken in the salad. Or you can bake it, chop it up. You can buy a roasted chicken for very little money at Costco's. Just remove the skin. And you can use that in your salad for extra protein. You always want to have greens, beans, onions, berries, mushrooms, nuts, and seeds as the base of your diet. Really cheap food. The cheapest food to always have in your house is onions, celery, carrots, and potatoes. Because you can make a world of different foods with that. And then you can just buy a roasted chicken from Costco or whatever, toss out the skin, and chop it up and put it in a container in the refrigerator. And then you can add that as a supplement to your greens, beans, onions, berries, mushrooms, nuts, and seeds. And then the carcass, you can boil it. And you can make bone broth with various different vegetables. Frozen foods are fine. A bag of frozen berries can be expensive. And so if the berries are in season, like the strawberries, where you can get a large amount, conventional, then you can freeze them afterwards. But you want to soak them in baking soda and vinegar to remove the pesticides. Let it soak for a little bit. Rinse it, let it drip dry in a colander, and then remove the top, slice them in half, and freeze them. Is going to be a better deal. That with some bananas, freeze it, buy the bananas, let them ripen, chop them up and freeze them. If you soak them in lemon water beforehand, they won't turn brown. And then you can do your protein shake. Yeah. You can make your own almond milk. There are recipes online if you're trying to save money, but I just, depending on how broke you are. Yeah, learn to cook from scratch. Learn to make your own food. Learn to live the simple life. Yeah, Jolene, exactly. If you have an elevated eosinophil, well, we think about a low histamine diet. And a low histamine diet means nothing from a can, nothing that's fermented. Fish is fine if it's fresh and steamed. But greens, beans, onions, berries, mushrooms, nuts, and seeds, fresh, is the low histamine diet. Very good. Your hope and fear at this time that you will be victorious, and also you want your energy back. We've talked about energy and should you invest in supplements. It depends on how depleted you are. I recommend the Eat to Live diet, which is nutritarian, greens, beans, onions, berries, mushrooms, nuts, and seeds. Animal protein can be added to that if you feel you need additional protein, but it shouldn't be more than 20% of total caloric intake. And because domesticated meat is bred to have too much fat, which is inflammatory and not the same as wild meat, you want to remove all of the fat through boiling or roasting, which is why roasted chicken is a nice idea. I just put a couple tablespoons of baking soda and vinegar because I understand in the bowl of water when I'm cleaning my produce, because I understand that, it's not feasible for everybody to get organic. And sometimes I'll buy the conventional, and that also gets rid of the bugs. And you just let it soak there for 10, 20 minutes, and then you'll rinse it several times. And then you put it in a colander over the bowl, and you let it just drip dry. And then while it's doing that, you can go ahead and cut them into halves and put them in a baggie and put it in the freezer. And that's the cheapest way to... Wyman's is not organic. Check and see if you can buy large amounts of berries in season, and check which is cheaper, because I'm all about getting people to save money. Yeah. But we have this energy coming in of the Ace of Wands, which would suggest that's kind of like get up and go. I recommend men's over 50 or women's over 50 multivitamin by Thorne Research, 2 to 3 capsules daily as the best multivitamin. And that's because it's pharmaceutical grade and is certified hypoallergenic. And it's bioactive forms for people who have MTHRF, people who have trouble processing folic acid. And it's got a form of vitamin B12 that does not contain cyanide. It's in the methylcobalamin form. For fish oil, I usually recommend the Nordic Naturals liquid. And I recommend taking either a teaspoon a day or 1 tablespoon every other day or every couple days, depending on how you want to do it. And that's it has a very mild flavor. And those are the only supplements I recommend. If you're a person of color and you're concerned that your vitamin D is too low because it's harder to absorb vitamin D, you could take 5,000 IU of vitamin D as well. And most over-the-counter brands of vitamin D are affordable. So the final outcome here is that justice will be done. Your priority is to take care of yourself and your health and to be in a good mental state so that you can serve your community to the best of your ability. Pray often for people. Your clarification at this time is we have this movement. I think that absolutely NATO is moving in. They have no choice. They've been attacked. And if a NATO country has been attacked, you don't sit back and wait for them to be demolished. The thief will flee. The thief will flee. You need to be strong. And you can't be strong. Look, if you really love humanity, you'll take care of your health because you can't afford to be sick right now. Now is the, snap out of it. That would be my advice to you. Snap out of the pity party. You can't afford to be lying in the bed sick. Get out of that bed If you want to save humanity, if you want to be an aspect of the salvation of the world, you need to get out of that bed. You need to make your protein and greens by paradise, which I think is the best one out there. Cachava is crap. It's got cyanide in it. It's cheap. Protein and greens is the best on the market, and that's because I've looked at its profile. It's 24 servings of fruits and vegetables per serving. Nobody on the planet has produced a better protein. Now, there are some that are really good. Don't get me wrong. If you have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, I don't want people to be on a low FODMAP diet because you're never going to get that way. We want to introduce some FODMAPs. But as you can see, it's not that expensive. 1 scoop a day. I also put peanut butter powder in mine for additional protein. I'll do 1 scoop of the protein and greens and then 1 scoop of the just see which one doesn't have any sugar in it. I think this is the one that I got. And I do that. I didn't get the cocoa one. I just got PB2. And that's going to give you 20 grams of plant protein if you're okay with peanuts. If you're not okay with, I got to watch it too because I have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is something that happens particularly as we age. This is a good company, bulksupplements.com. If you're feeling that you've got some arthritis, not arthritis, but arthritis or loss of joint gelatin, then I recommend gelatin powder also for the gut. And, there's a lot of good gelatin powders out there. Somebody had asked me if I could give a recommendation on which gelatin powder. I use this brand right now, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's called Hearthy grass-fed because it's grass-fed, so I'm not worrying about lead or things of that nature. And that's going to give you the type 1 and type 3 gelatin, which heals the gut if you have leaky gut and also helps with joint care as well. You can also do collagen powder, but I do sometimes collagen, sometimes gelatin in my smoothie, depending. For sleep disorders, the first thing we do is we look at the diet and we make sure the blood sugar is stable and then they're not getting any caffeine or any stimulants that could be causing the problem. So we look at removing stimulants like caffeine, Coca-Cola, etc. We also look at physical activity. The more physical activity you have, the better you're going to sleep at night because physical activity, running, hiking, and being in nature raises serotonin as well or better than an SSRI, a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, or what we call forest bathing, which is what I'm going to be doing after we finish today. I'm going to be out hiking in nature. We have a nice rainfall here in Portland, and I want to go hang out in nature, look at some mushrooms, and just be in the presence of nature will do more for your mood. It's also you're connecting with the pheromones of the plants. There's negative ions. There's a lot of good stuff that happens when you connect with nature. Yeah. All right, so that is our reading. Prepare for war. Yes, 100%. I think NATO is going to be involved. I think this is Putin's last stand. And I think if they get a hold of him, he's going to be tried in The Hague. So it would be wise of him to retire to his villa in Siberia, or he will be taken out. And I feel very strongly about that. And remember, I had warned in the video I had done 7 years ago that Putin had planned to take over the world. And for those people who have not seen the Putin video, I would strongly recommend you check out what Putin wants. In terms of Trump's health, Spirit told me he had 5 months left, and that was 6 weeks ago. And it doesn't, again, it doesn't bring me joy to say that. You know, I wish that people could change their karma. And the way to change your karma is by being a decent person, meditating, cleaning up your diet, giving an account and a reckoning for your actions. There's a way to change your karma. But when somebody is so ingrained in their own behavior that they refuse to change, it's very hard to change the karma. I don't believe in reading the future as a remote viewer because I believe in free choice. But what I can say as a remote viewer is that if somebody follows a particular trajectory, it is very likely it will wind up a particular way. And I heard a voice in my head say he would be out in 5 months, and that it was a number of things that took him out. It was the Epstein scandal, which, you know, he's at war with MAGA. MAGA is passing in the House to release this stuff. What does that tell you? He's not long for this world. Who's comforting Kirk's widow? J.D. Vance. You're intelligent people. You're smart people. You can see the writing on, you know, dumb people don't come to this channel. What do you think's happening? What are they doing? What are they preparing us for? Why is J.D. Vance there with Kirk's wife? And his wife, what's her name? Visha or whatever her name is? She's a lovely woman, actually, and has openly said she doesn't agree with him on a lot of things, including choice. I think that I don't think she's Catholic, is she? I think she's Hindu. What do they say, the Hindu in India? They say it's between her and God if she chooses to have an abortion. Yeah, Usha's a nice person. You know, their marriage is on thin ice. By all accounts, she's a lovely woman. The point I'm making is that there's a reason why it was him and not Trump. I think, you know, we're not stupid here. You can see the writing on the wall where we're headed.